The Wandering Swordsman is a Shaw Brothers martial arts film starring David Chiang. He plays the Wandering Swordsman. He is this roguish sort of Robin Hood character who steals from burglars and criminals to give to the needy. So in the opening sequence, he foils a robbery, robs a man's 1,000 taels of gold, gives it to some refugees. And we find out that he's kind of a dumbass. I mean that in the sense that he's really talented at martial arts, but he gives these poor people all of his own personal pocket money, and then he can't pay for his dinner later. So he ends up selling his swords to just a random guest in the restaurant, and then losing his weapons. And then he comes across a plot for, there's this man named Kung. He is a failsafe Kung. He's a criminal mastermind who has a lot of lieutenants and men. He's planning to rob a convoy of a security bureau. And the Wandering Swordsman, that's his name, he basically runs afoul of a guy bullying a woman who works for the bureau. And he sort of, gets involved this way. However, the movie takes egregious error, and halfway during the movie he bumps into Kung, and Kung is able to convince him that the convoy is actually the bad guys. So they attack with him, kill everyone, take the jewels, and then the hero realizes he made a mistake, and now he's got to fight all the bad guys. The movie doesn't have a very good plot. I like the villain. The villain's really, charismatic. He's a plotter. David Chiang is there, and there's not much to like about this movie. The plot is all over the place, There's a lot of episodic stuff of him, fighting for injustice, like he takes down a corrupt gambling house just for the hell of it. And then we find out that the guy who owns that gambling house happens to be one of the lieutenants of Kung. And then the two guys at the beginning are also lieutenants of Kung, but it's all coincidence. And it just doesn't feel like, people have the right conflict with each other. Like he's supposed to be like this, charming hero for justice, then he gets tricked so easily, and then, kills innocent people because of it. And then the ending's all over the place, and it's overly messy, and the plot just kind of jumps back and forth, and it doesn't have much focus. Action sequences, for the most part, the gambling house fight is interesting, and that's about it. There's not much else to go on. The action sequences aren't really memorable or choreographed. It's just kind of like him, fighting hordes of swordsmen. And I like David Chiang, but this isn't one of his stronger movies. It's just because, the character doesn't have much motivation for the whole movie, and there's not much of a plot besides a heist. And yeah, I found my attention wandering for the Wandering Swordsman. So I give the Wandering Swordsman a 3 out of 10.